Probably in your committee room. Okay, we're live. The Committee on Conference on Bill H.493, the FY26 budget, continuation from prior meetings.
So one thing that we found out last time we heard that the Orleans County one for 87.5.
That it could be done.
It only needed to be 50, and so Trevor talked to Norris, and they're all fine with that.
Okay.
Sorry.
David,
So we could.
$37,000.
This is line 80. So we would agree to 50,000.
That pen go. I lost my pen. Yep. Pen. Which line is it?
Line 80 on the one times.
Right, that's that.
Yes.
Not on this sheet, on the one.
On the one time sheet.
Should I do that?
It looked like this.
Oh, that one. That's on this one. What did I do?
Okay, I can find something.
Yeah, that's fine.
While you're looking for that. Here's Trevor's up. Here it is.
Flip over.
Teresa about this 317.
It should be on here.
So it's on the back page, line 80.
Yeah. Oh, here.
Right there.
Yeah. Right. Yes, I already marked that.
Well, you wanted us to check with
Yeah.
Norris,
Yeah.
Senator Norris, and 50,000 is fine. And it's fine with him, and that's what they need. And we'd be fine with the 20,000 for Addison County, since apparently they're getting kicked out. They need to set up an office, and that's only 20,000. Must be cheaper.
Yeah.
County than Orleans. And we haven't talked about the IT server. Okay. And then also along these same lines, another Trevor thing on page 57 of the language, which is E316.2. That language is fine, so we'll concur with you on that language.
I did get a letter from the chief superior judge that he was okay with. So when this came
Okay,
through this.
okay. Do you want to talk about the AG fees? What page is that?
Okay, on the
Oh,
ADS,
no, talk about that too.
Okay.
What page is
on
that?
page 25, E105. You folks, put something with the sentence in the ADS language, BAA, and we're okay with that.
E105,
E105.
technical.
We've made a lot
Yeah.
of decisions.
Okay.
Pause for a second, so we can just let folks know what it is.
So you go back and watch the video. Yes.
We're good.
It's not that big. We'll tell you. So on the one times, we agreed, well, on line 80, the Office of the Defender General Orleans staff only need 50,000 for their office issue. And so we agreed to that for the 50,000 on line 80. And we agreed to the 20,000 on line 82 for the Addison County office set up, since they've been picking up their office. I'm getting a whole 20,000 for somebody that got kicked out of their office. And then in this language section on page 25 of Brady's red and green sheets, the E-105, some ADS language with the Senate bids. And then on page 57, E-316.2, we wanted Trevor to look at the supervised visitation program report, and that is fine, so we've concurred with the Senate on that. Is that everything? And where's the AG?
Oh, there was a section on the
There was the
Attorney General fees.
Yeah, what,
Where is that?
That's E 200.1 and E 200.2.
We talked to our chair of Ways and Means. We do not have the bandwidth to take it up at this late date and would prefer that conversation be postponed until next session.
What, excuse me, what?
This is the
This is the AG.
AG fee increase
They had a
that
page.
never came to the
Page
House,
Yeah, I got it.
42 and 43.
There's multiple parties they would have to talk to. They cannot and will not at this late stage have the time to do that. So we've already shared that back with the Attorney General's office that was highly unlikely that we could address it at this point.
And what did they say?
What's that?
And what did they say?
I don't think we got a response. Trevor was delivering that message.
Okay.
And does this just affects do we have to change their budget, or did we put this money in their budget?
We would have to reduce their budget.
Why was this in there, the budget not the
that
budget that we
passed.
approved? We approved the budget with the fee increases?
Their budget assumed the $42,000 from the fee
So
increases.
the governors recommend.
But we never,
We never,
The fees themselves, like, didn't have a landing place. And then when the budget got to the Senate, it was realized that the fees hadn't landed anywhere.
so the AG they put it in their budget.
Built their budget assuming that the.
the governor put it in the budget as well?
The governor's recommend assumed the fee increases would be at the AG's office.
The governor's budget assumed that.
Well,
But so it's like this just got left out?
I believe so.
Okay, that's different than what we
yes, it
were
is
led to
different
understand. We
information.
did not hear that from anybody this morning.
So the only budget that was balanced as far as the AG was what we did.
Okay, so that's new information that you didn't give us this morning, so we had no idea.
Oh, we didn't know that either, so.
Right, why, I forgot.
We can have the next conversation.
I will talk to Emily.
Wait, but that we didn't realize, but we did think we were balanced. but-
All right, so we're holding off on that. Now that we have information that it's new news, okay. So we have 3 other group proposals to give you, all on one page.
All good.
Ginny isn't here, we could give this to Jaya. Okay. So 3 different topics. So childcare, you talked to us about stuff this morning.
Mhm.
And we would like to propose that we would agree with the 5 million reserve language. We would agree with the apprenticeship program. And we'd agree with the CACFP, which is the food administration.
Parentheses means one time.
No, we were just putting the amounts in, didn't,
Yeah, that was just a formatting.
that was just a format thing.
Okay.
I was dictating, Tim was typing.
Okay.
And then what we
But
proposed.
the 156 and the 150 is in it. Is that what you're saying?
That we are proposing to agree with the package, this whole childcare package that we're giving to you right now.
Okay, I was wondering because sometimes when you see parentheses.
It's negative, no,
It's negative.
no, because you'll see where we say do not agree.
I will never put parentheses in my documents.
Well, if you're striking, yeah,
It
that's all right.
depends on what format you're using. So we're going to propose that we split the difference on the infant and toddler rate. We had 4.5, you had 5%, proposed that we 5.5. And so we
Mhm.
proposed we land at 5, and then we were compromising and splitting the difference on that. We cannot agree to the OPR staff. That is a bill that we haven't seen. We don't know anything about. not
And it-
comfortable
And it's a lot of
putting,
money.
it's a lot of money. We're not comfortable putting that in or fencing that off. We're just not having it at this point. It should be a part of a longer discussion.
Okay,
Okay, so that's our childcare proposal.
okay, that's, I understand it. Well, I just want to see what our side wants to do about this S119.
Okay. All right, so that's the childcare. The next is food/nutrition. Thought we'd break that up. We have a spreadsheet we've given. We both agreed with the Vermonters feeding Vermonters, so that's already done.
It's already,
That was 500,000. Yeah, your parentheses were.
I know.
Mixed metaphors.
It's consistent.
So, okay, the CACFP we talked about up above in the childcare, but it's also food, so we just wanted to say that was part of the food package that we would agree to. We'd also agreed to the NOFA increase for food shelves for $1 million. And then the other two would be a sort of a package together that reduce the farm to school, that's the Medicaid, the program backfill to 500 and eliminate the farm security special fund. So that you end up having the money in the farm to school, which is where it sounds like that's the most needed.
yep,
And we don't need to start another new program. And the farms have access to another money.
gotcha.
So that's our food proposal.
There's no other food thing that, so the other ones we've already agreed to, I guess that's.
The only one we'd already agreed to was the, we'd already both agreed to the Vermonters feeding Vermonters for $500,000. Okay, so you had put in the local food shelves for $1 million, and we're saying we had put in NOFA for 3, you said 450, and we're saying we'll agree with you.
Oh, that was 150.
We said farm to school, you'd put in $1 million, and you also had $1 million for the security, the loan program. So we're saying, let's just do 500 and do it in farm to school.
We can,
Why don't we?
okay,
You have to decide today. Not this minute, I get it. And then the third proposal is, you had serve, earn, and learn at 500,000 and the conservation district at 500,000. We're proposing to have 250 to each of those.
okay. Right, well, we can get you an answer on all 3 of these, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
You want me to put on my senator hat?
Yeah, we need 3. Long
So I think-
out of office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we've got for now. Was there anything else that we missed, Emily, that we needed to, that we talked about?
JFO is working on the technical.
We can do a quick run through of the technical letter if you want.
Probably we should do that.
Do you have, you mean run through it all, or run through the ones that you think we should
I think we can.
pay attention to?
We just go through it and we'll say,
Yes, no, yeah,
yes, no, need more information. We need, or like you should think about.
Okay,
okay. Are you gonna do that?
let's
I'm
do
gonna
it.
make Grady drive and then I will provide color
Okay, I
commentary.
like that.
Yes.
Okay, take it away, Mr. Nixon.
Okay, agreements in JFO. So on page 1, section B200, JFO recommends accepting this. Section B211, JFO recommends not including this.
The first one is you've already agreed to moving the 80,000 to one time, so making this change.
Okay, yeah, okay.
The next one, you're not gonna put USAR in the base, so you don't need to do the next, the B111 or the B112 change.
What do you mean we are gonna?
We are putting USAR in the base.
Yeah.
We agreed to the base,
We
but
agreed.
at
At a
Lower rate, great, okay, so
Lower
we
rate.
are gonna do this, sorry. It's a good thing we're doing this.
Is
The
it,
house position.
but it's not 500, no, wait,
Had it in one, 450.
right.
You had
So it should be 450 in the base.
450 in the base. Not 470, you had 475 in your budget, and they had 500, so we're gonna go to 450.
Well, that's because we went back and forth on that. We couldn't remember if we had four.
So
Yeah, I
we all
looked at the
decided it was
rate.
450.
It was 475, but we agreed on.
We agreed on
Okay.
450.
450 are in the base.
Right.
And we're gonna move it to fire safety. That's,
Emergency management.
Emergency
Emergency
management.
management, Public safety, emergency management is part of public safety.
yeah, that we're.
So that's in the right spot.
We'll make sure it's in the right spot.
Okay.
B802, so the House removed the base funding for VHIP and made it one time.
Wait a
This,
second, we went
skipped
through
over
all
to-
212.
So the
Is that
211,
all part of this?
212 are together. Are about making sure urban search and rescue ends up in the right appropriation.
Okay.
B802 is just a correction that the VHIP base funding should come out of grants rather than personal services.
Existing, what
This is
they,
the existing, because I thought we ended up with that in the one time.
Right, so moving it from base to one time, JFO, we took it out of personal services, we should have taken it out of grants.
Oh, okay.
This is just correcting that.
Oh, okay, so that's okay.
I mean, it wasn't in base, but you mean just from the governor's. Right.
The governor recommended including it in the base and then the House turned it into one time, so this is just correcting the numbers.
So it's in one time. Great, all right.
On page 3, so there's various amendments to the one-time appropriations. In G sub 3 sub 4, JFO recommends accepting the recommendation of including notwithstanding language.
Okay, so up above, we got rid of the technical assistance program.
Yeah, so we don't have, you can ignore that one. So,
Okay,
H3, JFO recommends not including this. This is the same language that was included for these community partner food shelves last year, which was carefully negotiated to ensure that the direct aid went to the food shelves themselves. And that language was actionable in Act 113. So,
so we're gonna use the language from last year?
right.
I like that.
Yeah,
Sub 4, this is just recommending moving the Champlain Valley Office of Economic Opportunity Community Resource Center from DCF to DMH. So JFO recommends making that change.
Brady, can you back on the notwithstanding language? Is that a technical jam? Like, what are we notwithstanding?
It's just notwithstanding the fund itself to ensure that if in the event that these weren't allowable uses of the fund, that they can be used for that still.
Okay.
okay.
In M1, this is just a grammatical update, just adding A. In sub 4, this is just showing the full fund name. So JFO recommends accepting that. In Q2, again, this is just a grammatical correction, striking the word fund because it shouldn't be there. On page 4, JFO, this is also a request that came from A&R. So there's an A&R memo that also requests referring to the LURB rather than the RPCs. JFO recommends accepting that.
Okay, we haven't officially accepted that amount, but if we accept it, then that's what we'll use.
Right.
Okay,
Sub EE1, this is moving, in the BAA, there was an amendment to a prior year appropriation to expand the allowable uses of it. This is moving it into one time. You'll see further language on recommended changes on how to address this. The Joint Fiscal Office recommends not including this.
don't include this.
Correct.
Okay,
leave it as passed in the budget adjustment.
Just one?
so just number one,
EE1.
okay, X.
FF and GG, the Joint Fiscal Office recommends accepting that. FF1, so that's where you just see the move of the CVOEOCRC.
And that's the general housing, yeah, so those are okay.
And GG, that's the Attorney General, yes.
I'm a fraud person.
On page 5, going on to page 6, this is related to year-end closeout. The Joint Fiscal Office recommends not accepting this change. In sub B toward the end, you'll see that Finance and Management is recommending moving language relating to language on the following page that's related to the municipal technical assistance grants. So they recommend moving it to this section and striking it from the section it's currently in. The Joint Fiscal Office recommends not accepting that change.
So B, we'd say no to. Okay.
Just B or the whole thing?
The entirety.
Okay,
Everything, I think the construct that was in the Senate passed bill related to closeout is the exact same construct that we had in last year's bill. And this sort of splits it into two sections and puts it in different places. And we recommend that we just leave it all in one spot, same as last year.
I think that makes much more sense. Keep it clean.
Section B 1103, also on page 6, this is striking one time from the title and then striking repointing and replacing it with repainting. It is repointing, not repainting. So the Joint Fiscal Office recommends not accepting this change.
And they know that now, right?
Yes, they will, yeah.
I was wondering about,
You don't repoint your chimney.
We-
Repaint your
we-
chimney, repoint it.
We pointed them in the right direction regarding that.
There's good.
On page 7, this is where you'll see that change. So they're recommending striking that language that they recommended inserting into that other section. So the Joint Fiscal Office recommends not accepting that.
Which one is this?
In VB,
C-103.
Oh, to the extent funds are, okay, so no, okay.
We jump back up to at the top.
Yeah.
related to this is related to the cash fund. We need to check since that's not officially settled yet, we're gonna wait for
Okay.
advice from the institutions committee on what to do there. And depending on how they settle, we will check with John Gray from Legislative Council on whether or not notwithstanding language is necessary, depending on what ends up there in the end.
And they're meeting this afternoon, we hope after your floor.
okay.
And that they know to talk about this first, the council, because it's holding us up. Okay,
W1, the Joint Fiscal Office recommends just including the reference to the act for these pilot projects.
yes,
And in sub X, sub 1 and sub 2, the Joint Fiscal Office recommends including these appropriations.
And we checked with, this
this is the budget adjustment.
it wasn't in the budget adjustment. This is a new one that has recently come up. There was sort of just a technical error in some of the calculations. The data that was submitted by the supervisory unions was incorrect.
Oh,
We checked with finance and management in terms of like doing this versus just adding money to the base appropriation for transportation. If it goes to the base appropriation, then it sort of recalculates the whole formula, because that appropriation is driven by formula. So they recommended do this one-time appropriation, checks with Julia,
Yeah.
Richter. This is, $210,000. It's not going to impact the education fund. It'll be de minimis on the ed fund. So she'll add it in on the ed fund side and.
okay. Sounds fine.
On page 8, C104, so this is the second of 3 language pieces relating to their recommendation regarding the Joint Fiscal Office prior year appropriation. So the Joint Fiscal Office recommends not striking this section. C105, this is just correcting the grant request number and then correcting from funds to spending authority. JFO recommends accepting that. C107, again, this is just a technical update to GovRec language. So putting in where those general fund dollars were provided and then correcting the date of that e-board meeting from the 12th of August 24 to the 8th.
None of us were here for that.
Section C108, this relates to fiscal year closeout and that earlier language. So Joint Fiscal Office also recommends not accepting this change. Section C109, this is moving the Child Care Contribution Special Fund Reserve language to a C section, so that it's current year, pending committee discussions on that. The Joint Fiscal Office recommends accepting this change.
And you said accept C108?
Yes, or no, sorry,
No.
no.
Yeah.
It relates to
Cross out
that
C108.
earlier closeout stuff as well.
C108 will be in B1100 where it has been in the past.
At the very bottom of page 9, then continuing on to page 10, this is recommending striking the PTT allocation language. The Joint Fiscal Office recommends not accepting this change. The PTT allocations have been in the D100 section for decades.
Why did they want to strike it?
I believe because the allocations are not being withstood this year. They recommend establishing new annual language session law. You'll see multiple language pieces in the technical letter relating to this. Recommend just keeping it as is.
Yes.
I think if this is a change that they want to make, the appropriate time to make this change will be in the governor's recommended budget by 27.
Right.
At this stage in the game, we keep it
It was in, they put it in the budget.
this way. This is how it has been in the.
Right. No, I agree that we don't accept it. Okay.
Section D101 at the bottom of page 10, this is just correcting the name of the cash fund, so spelling out that sub-account. The number for this needs to be updated, but spelling out the name is fine.
Number meaning the dollar
Yes.
for the cash fund, for B, not the debt obligation.
Correct. On page 11, these are 3 other transfers they recommend moving here. The Joint Fiscal Office recommends not accepting that.
9, 10, and 10.
9, 10, and 10. They're
10 and
related to
10.
they're part of the property transfer tax.
Because we're keeping the original, we don't need
Correct.
the original. Let's take rid of that. Okay.
Section D102, so this is the third and final part of that JFO prior year appropriation, so we recommend also not accepting this change. At the bottom of page 11, continuing on to page 12, this is the reserves section. So you'll see here, this is the second part of that move of the Child Care Contribution Special Fund Reserve, moving it into that C section. So this would also be a recommended accepted change.
Assuming we accept the 5 million
Right.
language.
So if the reserve is accepted, then that language would be moved to a C section.
So we could accept the strikeout.
Yes.
Okay, except if we accept the 5 million. Okay, which is now in the Senate's court.
Section E100, this is various amendments to the positions section. JFO would recommend just addressing this later on when the position language is drafted as a whole. On page 13, section E100.3. So this is recommending striking out reporting language on the Cure General Fund ARPA dollars. So JFO is looking into this, but we don't believe that it's a necessary change. There may be a tweak just for clarity to the language, but the report itself should not be struck.
Right. We like reports.
On page 14, section E105 and E111, again, relates to the PTT allocation. So we recommend not including these sections.
Out.
Section E127.2, this is just adding in by the General Assembly to the unreserved and transfer authority. So the Joint Fiscal Office recommends accepting that change. E127.3, I would recommend skipping for now. This again relates to some of those interim budget adjustment authority. There are multiple pieces related to that. So on pages 16 and 17, also recommend just skipping all the way to E142.3. Vermont Emergency Management Division, it is currently referred to in statute in multiple places as Division of Emergency Management, and that's Ledge Council practice. So we'd recommend rejecting that change.
Wait, so
Oh, okay, 142.1.
3.
So you're saying that we typically use the Division of Emergency Management in all of our,
Correct.
so
So,
you don't accept this?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
We get rid of a word if we accept it, though. Or 2 letters.
At the bottom of page 17 and then on to page 18. So this relates to the Community Radio Grant Program. This language was sent over from Legislative Council. It's also in a different bill. So the language may need to be tweaked just to make sure that it's referring correctly to the Budget Act itself. So the Joint Fiscal Office will look at the language and see if any tweaks need to be made. The following three sections relate to adding language for pool created positions. The Joint Fiscal Office recommends not including this. There's no language currently in the bill relating to pool created positions, including those from GovRec. So we recommend not adding these sections.
And there were some that we had said specifically should be in the pool, but
And that's what these are.
yeah, but we don't need to do that, is what you're
And
saying.
do it in the section with all the positions.
Do it with the positions. Okay, so take out Criminal Justice Council, Human Rights Commission, and Cannabis Control. And cannabis, we're not doing that.
So that one would be doubly unnecessary.
Right. Okay.
E 301.3, this is just changing it from Department of Finance and Management to Commissioner. Joint Fiscal Office recommends accepting that. E 312.3, Legislative Council is looking at this section in another context already, so I would recommend just skipping that pending Legislative Council recommendations. Same with E 312.4, which you'll see at the bottom of page 19 and the top of page 20. Section E 313, this is recommending language to address the provider rate increases. There's no language in the bill relating to other provider rate increases, and that has not been past practice, so we'd recommend not accepting this addition.
Well, and we're going to follow up with the Agency of Human Services and find out why this one specifically is called out. And we'll report back.
Okay, so probably a no. Okay.
Section E 318, the Joint Fiscal Office has no issue with the recommended technical updates, but this section of statute is also being worked on and amended by Legislative Council for another bill. So we would just recommend making sure that those two pieces of language match.
Yes, because we actually, our committee had an amendment to that bill.
Correct.
Around this exact stuff that's in here, because you did that amendment about the or in danger recently opened or
Correct. So
one thing.
we would just recommend that the bill include language that lines up with.
Remember which bill that was?
Ooh, something. That's not helpful.
I believe it was either an H or an S bill.
Okay, we're in good shape today.
Wow, you are sharp. What a memory.
Section E 321, I would recommend skipping for now. That's for Legislative Council.
The 321.
Yep. On page 22, section E 345.1, this is another full position. We recommend not accepting this section.
I'm sorry, which, this 345.1,
Yep.
not in red, so I was going off. Okay,
Section E 605.1, this is just technical updates to the reference. So this language we would recommend accepting.
Okay.
Section E 802, this is another property transfer tax allocation section, so we'd recommend not accepting this. The same with section E 811 on page 23.
Okay.
Section E 901 on page 23. This was in a prior technical letter as well. I believe that the transportation committees have worked on their construct for how to address the electric vehicle supply equipment and have not accepted the idea of establishing a special fund. So we recommend not accepting this language. On page 24, section E 902, again, this relates to the same issues, so we'd recommend not accepting this language. Section F-168 and section F-170. So this relates to whether or not the language that was in the treasurer's language conflicts with GASB rules. I believe we're still looking at this, but it's the Joint Fiscal Office's current understanding that some corrections may need to be made to these sections. Section F-174 on page 25 relates to the reference to the Child Care Contribution Special Fund unallocating an unreserved balance. We'd recommend accepting these changes. They're technical in nature. Section F-177, so this is addressing that group of students that were in the prior adult ed program and were left in a bit of limbo when the programs changed.
Yeah.
This is recommending adding back in language that was struck, repealing the section on July 1. The Joint Fiscal Office checked with Legislative Council if not repealing the section would pose any issue, and it was confirmed that it would not. The Joint Fiscal Office would recommend, given the timing of passage of the bill, that this repeal is not added.
I agree.
And then the effective dates.
So that was,
What's it repeal?
That-
Where's
so-
the repeal? Oh, this section, the B section, that was.
this was
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
kids who,
Yeah,
were
yeah.
caught in the in-between.
We're not doing.
We're not going to repeal, so
Yep.
we don't want to hurt them any further.
Right. And then the effective dates section, I won't address. Those will obviously be updated
A favorite section.
given decisions that the committee makes.
This week,
I think we should accept all
Can
of
be.
whatever JFO told us. To either accept, reject, or hold.
I think that's a good amendment that I agree with. Any problem with that?
Pretty good.
Okay.
Okay.
And there's a few you're getting back to us on.
Yeah,
Right.
that we skipped over. Okay, so that's it.
I think that's what we got.
Yeah.
We're not gonna do, I did, but I have not reached a conclusion. What time do you want to meet or try to meet?
Can we do it at like 3:30?
What time is transportation meeting? 3:30?
but we can.
We think that'll be short, do we know?
I have a 4:30 meeting, so trying to,
Yeah.
I can be late to it if I have to be late to it, but I can with some of that.
Do we want to say 4 or do you want to give more time?
About 3:45.
3:45.
Okay,
So we meet at
3:45
3:45.
here. We can adjourn.